Naruto. This Uchiha is a businessman. Chapter 11. After sending a maid to open the door, Lu Lin still lay on the bed, enjoying the comfort brought by the maid's gentle hands pressing on his back. After a while, a serious voice came from outside the door. Where is Lu Lin, boy? Why don't you come out in person? Do you still have any complaints against me? The maid hurriedly explained in a low voice. Our young master is too tired, so he is resting. Snort. The owner of the voice didn't say any more. Under the guidance of the maid, he went straight to where Lu Lin was. The person who came was an adult ninja with gray hair and a strong build. When he saw Lu Lin massaging his bare upper body, out of anger. We are a noble Uchiha clan, and you are the eldest brother of the clan leader. How could you be so greedy for pleasure? Lu Lin recognized that the person in front of him was the long-famous Jonin in the group. The Yashara of Uchiha, who possesses 3 Magatama Sharingan eyes, is a full-fledged representative of the Uchiha Hawks. The 8th generation elder. Lu Lin glanced at Yashara and had no intention of getting up. I'm not a ninja, why should I follow the ninja lifestyle? But you are an Uchiha. Yashara is the most disciplined person, and Lu Lin's behavior at this time is considered deviant in his eyes. That's what the Yatsudai elder said. Lu Lin licked his ears and said nonchalantly. So you want to remove me from the Uchiha clan? Yashara usually relies on the fact that he is older than Lu Lin, and always behaves like an elder in front of Lu Lin, always liking to preach. But does he have the right to control Lu Lin? Obviously, he has no right. In fact, if Lu Lin reveals his strength, coupled with his relationship with Fugaku, he can be regarded as the most powerful person in the entire Uchiha clan. Snort. I'm not here to talk nonsense with you today. Seeing that Lu Lin had no intention of inviting him to sit down, Yashara could only move a stool and sit across from Lu Lin. Let Mingyan and them come back, the clan needs them. Return. Lu Lin sneered. It was you who gave up on them in the first place, and now that you see that they have strength, you want them to go back. Okay, then you go ask them if they are willing. If they are willing, I will naturally agree. You know very well that if you don't speak up, there's no way they'll be able to return to the family. Then why don't you think about why they don't want to? Lu Lin's words left Yashara speechless. He opened his mouth half open and didn't speak for a long time. He sat on the stool and didn't know what he was thinking. In the end, he could only sigh and walked out slowly. In fact, Lu Lin didn't have any objections to Yashara. Although this guy was from the Eagle sect, he really dedicated a lot to the family. He just made it clear that they were doing it to complete the clan's mission, and then accidentally hurt their own roots, but because they were at that time. They had already opened their eyes, and the Uchiha at that time was under great pressure due to Madara's departure and the suppression of the 2nd generation, so some brainless elders of the Hawks thought about replacing the eyes of the eye-opening ninjas whose strength could no longer be improved. For those tribesmen who had enough strength but did not open their eyes. Although they were ill and sought medical treatment at the time, their behavior still caused many ninjas who had made great contributions to the family but could no longer practice due to injuries. Completely disappointed. At that time, Lu Lin also started his own business, so he used Fugaku's relationship to recruit those people. Although it was stated that they could no longer improve their strength, their original strength was still there. Yes, it's not high. With the Sharingan, the strength is about that of a Chunin. It can fight a few moves with a Junin, but it is enough to protect the caravan, and Lu Lin didn't do much business at the time, so he went to the end. The only place far away is the capital of the Kingdom of Fire. As for why Yashara wants to return to the clan now, it is naturally because the injuries suffered in their bodies have recovered. The main reason is that Lu Lin has been away from home since he got money. Support the system. Although it is difficult for this poor system to come up with treasures, there are still 1 or 2 treasures that can cure their injuries, and they can continue to improve because of their experience. After the ups and downs of Mingyan and the others, several eyes that were originally single Magatama have broken through to double Magatama, and even those like Mingyan, who have stronger talents and greater emotional fluctuations, directly turned into 3 Magatama Sharingan. As for why in the original work, without their names, it's just that their injuries have not been resolved until death. Now Mingyan and several other Uchiha are loyal to Lu Lin. On weekdays, their mission is only to escort the caravan. Not many people know about it, that is, the elders such as Fugaku and Yashira know about it, but they were ashamed to tell them clearly at the time, so they basically pretended that the clan did not tell these Uchiha. They are just some people in the clan who are a little worried. This is not a big deal. They can just talk to Fugaku later. After Lu Lin walked out of Fugaku's house, he did not go back directly, but headed towards the street. Go up. Recently, the presence of Anbu ninjas can be felt on the entire Konoha street. Obviously, Kushina's arrest has made the third generation Tsukumo Hitaki become more cautious these days. When he got busy, because he was the head of the Anbu, he failed to notice that the nine-tailed Jinchuriki was arrested. Danzo had already caused trouble for him several times in front of the third generation. Just after the meeting that day, Hitaki Tsukumo was relieved. On the way home slowly, Danzo just mentioned the incident of Kushina's arrest again, and suggested that Hitaki Tsukumo was not suitable to continue to assume the responsibility of Anbu minister. However, he was suppressed by the third generation, who supported Hitaki Tsukumo to continue serving as Anbu minister. In fact, Hitaki Tsukumo was also thinking about resigning as Anbu minister, so that he would be able to spend more time with Kakashi. However, facing the trusting eyes of the third generation, he could not open his mouth no matter what. Just after he returned home with a bored look on his face, Kakashi also finished school and came back holding 2 cups of milk tea. Seeing his very satisfied son, Hitaki Tsukumo regained his energy, took the milk tea, and talked cordially with his son. Father, I want to graduate early, and no one in my school can compete with me. Hitaki Tsukumo looked at his son and touched his head with satisfaction. Then make more friends, Kakashi. Besides, you are still young, so there is no need to rush. Kakashi was a little dissatisfied. I don't want to play with those childish guys. I want to be a person like my father in the future. Hitaki Tsukumo became even happier when he heard that his son was targeting him. The child's mother passed away early, and he was also busy on weekdays and had no time to take care of Kakashi. However, Kakashi not only did not complain at all, but kept thinking about him. He must seize the opportunity to grow up and help himself. He is worthy of being a descendant of the Hitaki family. Lin, you want the milk tea? Unknowingly, he came to a milk tea shop, and a familiar name attracted Lu Lin. He looked up at the direction where the sound came from, and there stood a silly-looking little boy shouting around a little girl. Although the little girl seemed to dislike the little boy for being too noisy, she still kept her smile and chatted with the little boy. Just when the little girl was helpless, she didn't know what she saw, and her eyes lit up. Then at the little boy's shout, the little girl ran towards a child whose face was half covered. Obito. How did such a bright and silly boy turn into a wilting and bad fool? Obito seemed to realize that Lu Lin was looking at him. He smiled at Lu Lin, and then went after the little girl without looking back. Still licking the dog. After the identification, isn't this Lu Lin's exposure to some bloody ancient puppet fairy dramas in his previous life? The powerful licking dog lost the one he loved, and then planned to destroy the entire 3 realms. This is where licking dog Obito lost his life. After he falls in love with Lin, he will destroy the entire ninja world and then create a world with Lin. But the man next to them is. Lu Lin frowned. He could feel that the smiling man had an extremely sharp sword intent. Presumably it was Kakashi's father, the famous Konoha White Fang Hitaki Tsukumo. Seemingly sensing the fluctuation of chakra, Hitaki Tsukumo followed the chakra and looked at Lu Lin. When he realized it was an Uchiha, he averted his gaze. For some reason, he actually felt a hint of threat from this Uchiha. He was a little confused. He basically knew the powerful ones in the Uchiha clan, but he had no impression of the young Uchiha. It was probably the Uchiha's secret power. However, Hitaki Tsukumo is not from the Hokage family, and he has no opinions about Uchiha. Lu Lin was a little bit tongue-tied that such a powerful man would be forced to death by rumors. With Hitaki Tsukumo's strength, he was treated like a treasure in other villages, but in Konoha he could only be reduced to politics. The victim is really ridiculous. This is enough to reflect the outstanding people of Konoha. It is no wonder that several other villages have always wanted to destroy Konoha village, especially Sunagakure village. 1727, 1728, 1729. A panting voice sounded behind Lu Lin. Akai, we must hold on, for the sake of youth, for the sake of burning our youth. Two men wearing emerald green clothes and with watermelon hair, carrying their children, are walking on the ground supporting their bodies with two fingers. The people around are obviously familiar with the strange operations of the two father and son, and they are worried about it. They all turned a blind eye. Suddenly, the little watermelon head jumped up from the ground. Kakashi, let's duel. Kakashi glanced helplessly at the excited Metkai, turned around and left without any intention of paying attention to this overly excited guy. Kakashi, this is not right. Hitaki Tsukumo pulled his son back. Be more enthusiastic towards your friends. Kakashi became more and more helpless and could only deal with Kai first. The little watermelon head didn't speak for long before his eyes suddenly turned white and he fainted on the ground. The big watermelon head, Kai's father Matt Dai, hurriedly Lu Lin helped his son up and walked forward quickly. Move aside, I'm a doctor. Matt Dai carefully put Kai down, looked at Lu Lin who was checking his son's pulse, and asked worriedly. Doctor, is my son okay? Lu Lin frowned, and his chakra flowed through Kai's meridians. After a long time, he took out a small pill and fed it to Kai. It's not a big deal, just a little exhausted. He looked at Dai and said seriously. Moreover, the child is still somewhat malnourished, so he needs to be given more high-calorie food. Otherwise, if he only practices without supplements, his body will sooner or later be left with hidden wounds. Dai nodded quickly, but felt a little bitter in his heart. Due to his extremely poor ninja talent, he was only a genin at this age. However, the reward for genin missions could only barely cover the expenses. As if seeing Dai's dilemma, Lu Lin smiled slightly, took out a card and handed it to Dai. If you have any difficulties, please come to me. Here is my contact information and address. Then he left without looking back, and Kai slowly woke up. Father, what happened to me just now? Dai hugged his son and burst into tears. He felt that he was sorry for his son and failed to let him live a good life. Tsukumo looked at Lu Lin with some surprise. He found that this Uchiha and him the clan members are different. They don't have the arrogance of Uchiha, but they are quite kind. Yi Kai. When Lu Lin returned home, he thought of Kai and his son. They were able to practice the 8-gate dungeon enough to open the door of death. It must be said that the physical skills of the two father and son were indeed powerful. In addition to these two father and son, in the huge Konoha, there are also later, Shaoli had enough physical skills to almost kick out the finale. Yi Kai's name impressed Lu Lin, and his love for talents seemed to be starting to stir again, so he gave it to him. Tadai handed over a card with some introductions about himself. As for the examination of Kai's body just now, it was just a relatively simple probing technique. The pill he fed was a tonic drawn from the system and could not cure anything. When he was seriously ill, Lu Lin usually took it as a health pill, taking one a day. Lu Lin didn't take it seriously. He washed himself carefully and called out the system. Let's start the 10 consecutive draws. Plus a free reward, a total of 11 upside-down cards appeared in front of Lu Lin. Let me see your limit, dog system, fully open, come out. 11 cards were opened at the same time under Lu Lin's expectant eyes. With some dazzling golden light, a golden card lay quietly among a pile of grass-green cards. Shipped. Could it be that this system has a masochistic tendency and requires some scolding before something can come out? Lu Lin held the golden card in his hand expectantly and read the introduction on it. With the mastery of medical ninjutsu, the user can master all existing medical ninjutsu in the ninja world. The intensity of use depends on the user's own ability. The happy mood just now is gone forever. The reward is a good reward, but if he remembers correctly, most medical ninjutsu are related to yang escape, but the Uchiha clan is good at yin escape. This is not a joke. Well, could it be that this card will automatically give me the yang escape talent? Lu Lin tentatively put the gold card in his hand into his body. A large amount of knowledge about medical ninjutsu rushed into Lu Lin's mind, and he felt like his head was about to explode. Broken system, you are really useless. After cursing angrily, Lu Lin fainted. After not knowing how long he had slept, Lu Lin opened his eyes in confusion and found that he was lying on his bed. Just when I was about to get up, my brain suddenly felt a stab of pain again. Hiss. Lu Lin couldn't hold himself up and fell down again. He stared at the ceiling with blank eyes. He didn't expect that a complete medical ninjutsu indoctrination could directly make him faint. Mental strength is still a bit weak. Lu Lin thought, his 3 Magatama Sharingan has not yet successfully transformed into the Mangekyo Sharingan. If the transformation is successful, his mental power will definitely improve a lot. Let's see if there are any changes in the body. Slowly closing his eyes, he began to mobilize the chakra of his whole body. Lu Lin wanted to know if he had obtained Yongdun. Yongdun can greatly increase the vitality of the owner. Among the families that possess Yongdun, the most representative are the Uzumaki clan and the former strongest family of Konoha, the Senju clan. The vigorous vitality in their bodies is brought by Yongdun. Moreover, the fat sheep with the most brilliant medical skills in the ninja world, Konoha's Princess Tsunade, is also because of the blessing of Yongdun. Her medical ninjutsu is so powerful. The reason why Lu Lin also wants to possess Yongdun is because their Uchiha clan represents Yindun with strong mental power. Although it is also very strong, it does not prevent the Uchiha clan from being mostly crispy chickens. You say that Madara dancing on the battlefield does not count. Madara is not targeting an ordinary ninja, his opponent is Hashirama of the Senju. Even if his physical skills, no matter how strong he was, he still used powerful ninjutsu to fight against Hashirama, and the close combat was also fought by the Gundam, summoned by the two. After a while, Lu Lin lay on the bed a little depressed. He did not feel the extraordinary vitality in his body, not even a trace. Now in his mind, there are only many complicated medical ninjutsu, but no yang escape that can perform it. What is the difference between this and having a treasure mountain, but can only look at it but not use it? Lu Lin wanted to kill the broken system. He stroked his chin and thought slowly. He looked through the system mall and wondered whether to buy Yang Escape. But when he saw the beautiful string of zeros on it, he thought about giving up in his heart, but when he thought of the improvement that Yang Escape could bring to himself, as well as a head full of medical ninjutsu, he still tried to focus his eyes on the string of numbers and counted slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lu Lin's voice began to tremble as the numbers increased. After counting to the last digit, all the strength in his body was exhausted in an instant and he collapsed. A total of 1 billion taels are needed. It's okay, it's not too much. Lu Lin murmured, his eyes instantly becoming extremely sharp. Ninja world, guard your wallets, I will work hard to get the money out of them. Just doing a mere milk tea business and training some mercenaries to earn commissions can no longer satisfy Lu Lin's appetite. He wants to reach the top step by step. He wants to be Zhao Gao. Wrong, he wants to be the richest tycoon in the entire ninja world. In recent days, the villagers who opened shops in Konoha village suddenly complained a lot, and the voices were so loud that they even went to the 3rd generation. What are the villagers complaining about recently? An Anbu ninja half knelt in front of the 3rd generation and explained in a low voice. The villagers who recently opened a store complained so because people often come to the store to cause trouble. Make trouble. The 3rd generation was a little confused. What about the security department? Aren't they responsible for maintaining order in Konoha village? The entire security department is controlled by the Uchiha clan. Whenever something happens to the Uchiha, the 3rd generation is always very serious. The Anbu ninja hesitated for a moment and slowly explained. Recently, something called a game console has appeared in the Uchiha clan. Almost everyone in the Uchiha clan has one, and then for some reason, the Uchiha in the security department hardly come out to patrol, and they all stay in the security department. Playing with game consoles inside the building. Game console. What it is? The 3rd generation has never heard of this name before, and thought it was some kind of treasure that can enhance Uchiha's strength. It's a kind of entertainment. The Anbu ninja said. It's a small box with several games on it. You can play it by pressing the button on it. My son also bought one a few days ago, but it's a bit expensive. My son said that he bought the cheapest one, which is worth 10,000 taels, but the advantage is that it has a permanent warranty. The 3rd generation frowned. He was curious about what kind of game console it was. It could seduce even the always serious Uchiha. When he got home at night, he saw his son sitting on the sofa, holding an iron box in his hand, shouting there. Watch my chain kicks, shurikens, watch my wood escape, and the arrival of the tree world. Hearing Mew done, Sandai ducked behind little Asuma and watched him constantly pressing the iron box in his hand. There were two little people on the iron box, who seemed to be fighting with each other. Or ninjutsu. It was probably a ninjutsu, after all, the wood summoned by a villain instantly occupied the entire screen. Asuma, what is this thing you are playing with? The third generation's voice startled Asuma, who was concentrating on it. The Hashirama he was controlling also stopped, and was instantly knocked down by the Kyuubi controlled by someone who looked like Madara. Asuma saw that it was his father. Just about to speak, suddenly remembered that he was fighting, and quickly turned his head. I found that the screen had already lit up a big Kazuo. Father, it's all your fault for causing my death. I just came so close to defeating Madara and becoming Hokage. Asuma complained a little. After hearing Asuma's words, the third generation couldn't help but frowned. As for defeating Madara, his stupid son can defeat his old father. It's not bad. What else can he become Hokage? Thinking about taking over his position at such a young age is considered a good goal. What killed you? What's that sitting on the sofa? Sandai slapped his son. What are you talking about? And what is that in your hand? Hearing that his Hokage father was interested in game consoles, Asuma introduced it enthusiastically. This is a new game console developed by Uchiha Lulin recently. It is really fun. With Asuma's introduction, the third generation quickly learned how to operate the game console. He looked at several games in the game console. Ninja World War, I Want to Become a Hokage, and Ninja World's Strongest. He casually clicked on the game Asuma, the strongest in the ninja world, had just played. The level in it had already reached the plot of Hashirama's battle against Madara. As a shadow-level expert who can combine 5 types of ninjutsu with different attributes, Sandai's learning ability is naturally not weak. After controlling Hashirama to be beaten passively for a while, he quickly got started and eliminated him 3 times. Second, he defeated his opponent Madara. In Asuma's adoring voice, the third generation returned the game console to his son, sat on the sofa and slowly thought about it. He still knows something about Uchiha Lulin. He has no talent for training and is only a genin in terms of strength. However, he controls the gold-sucking beast of milk tea, and he has also set up a so-called franchise store, uniting all the people including his Sarutobi family. Businessmen from several of the largest families in Konoha. And now we have a so-called game console based on his experience just now. To be honest, if it weren't for his self-control as a Hokage, he would probably be obsessed with this gadget. He slowly took out the pipe, lit it, and started smoking. Every time he thought, he took 2 puffs of the cigarette. Why is this Lulin not like other Uchiha at all? And his identity is Fugaku's biological brother. In the third generation's view, Lulin's making money is equivalent to strengthening the Uchiha clan. After all, money can enhance strength in disguised form. The smoke quickly covered Sandai's wrinkled eyes. His eyes flashed twice in the smoke from time to time, and he didn't know what he was thinking. In the Uchiha clan's territory, in Lulin's yard. Lulin was looking at the long list of balances in the system with great pleasure. When the game console becomes completely popular in the Land of Fire, Yang escape technique can be easily obtained. The game console was a reward he drew when he returned to Konoha. At that time, he was still thinking about whether to manufacture it. After all, with his identity, it was not safe to make a lot of money. But after drawing the medical ninjutsu, Lulin didn't plan to endure it anymore. He made up his mind and directly transferred a few trained managers to build a factory in the Misty Village in the Land of Tea. The workers inside are all villagers of the Misty Village. Then he went there again and handed over the manufacturing and assembly of the game console parts to different people. Mizukawa is now the director of the factory. Team A and Team B no longer accept tasks and directly work as security guards in the factory. In this way, the factory slowly started to run. A week later, the first batch of game consoles were delivered to Lulin. Afterwards, the Uchiha clan members became the first batch of trial users of the game console. The response was quite good, and no one had a bad review for this game console. The only thing that was a little unsatisfactory was that the games in it were too simple for powerful ninjas. Their reaction ability allowed them to easily defeat the enemies in the game. In response to this, Lulin also specially launched a ninja-only game console, as well as a tycoon version and a collector's version. The latter two models were the models he used to open the wallets of those nobles. The ordinary version is worth 10,000 taels, the ninja-only version is a little more expensive, worth 100,000 taels, the tycoon version is 1 million taels, and the collector's version is 100 million taels. Moreover, Lulin only made 10 collector's versions of the game console. In fact, except for the ninja-specific game console, which has a higher game difficulty, the other three games are no different. The only difference is the appearance and touch. For example, the ordinary version looks like an ordinary iron box, while the tycoon version is more shiny, and is divided into gold, platinum and other color styles. As for the collector's version, the experience in all aspects is naturally a level higher than the tycoon version. Lulin also knows something about those nobles. Although the lives of civilians in this world are miserable, they can't eat and have to worry about being killed. But the lives of the nobles are indeed extremely luxurious. Countless servants and maids, and big fish and meat for every meal. For the nobles, what they pursue is no longer. It's not material satisfaction, but spiritual satisfaction. In their eyes, money is nothing but a string of numbers. Among Lulin's milk teas, there is a kind called golden milk tea, which is specially made for nobles. A cup of milk tea, except for its exquisiteness, is almost the same as ordinary milk tea, that is, the quantity is smaller. But so what the nobles want is the feeling that is different from ordinary people. It doesn't matter if the quantity is small, as long as you look good, exquisite, and not used, then the nobles will like it. However, the current factory is relatively small, and it produces ordinary game consoles, which can't satisfy the appetite of the whole village. Lulin also wanted to build a few more factories to expand production, but he just hasn't found a suitable place. Otherwise, build a factory within the clan. To build a factory in the ninja world, you must also match the escort team to guard the factory. After all, there are no legal restrictions on the people here. If there is a hostile village, no, even in Konoha, there will be some people who are interested in the industry they have established. It was just that the Uchiha people were not bad, but building a factory seemed a bit small. He decided to meet the Hokage another day to see if he could cooperate with the boss of Konoha. This would not only eliminate certain those who wanted to annex his property could also use Konoha's defense power to protect their factory. Early the next morning, Lulin hurried to the Hokage building to hear about the game machine. The developer was looking for him. He was a little confused, but he was also very curious about Lulin, so he ordered Lulin to come up. Soon, there was a knock on the door of the Hokage's office. Come in. Sandai put down the documents in his hands and sat on the chair and said. Lulin opened the door and walked in. This was the first time he met Sandai alone. He seemed quite amiable. Sandai looked at Lulin's young appearance and smiled. He asked. Are you Lulin? What do you want from me? Lin suppressed some bad descriptions of the third generation in his mind, straightened his body and said. Sir, I want to build a factory in our village. Build a factory. The third generation was a little confused. Yes. Do you know about the game console that has become popular in the village recently? Of course the third generation knows that. As Hokage, he has mastered all the situations in the village. He even knows what color underwear the Widow King next door is wearing. Lulin described his game console to the third generation, and told the third generation how much benefit it would bring to Konoha if his factory was built. However, facing Lulin's sincere speech, the third generation did not change his expression and just said that he should go back and wait. This matter still needs to be discussed with the entire senior management. Regarding this, Lulin could only smile on his face and feel XXX in his heart. On the way, Lulin kept smiling and would say hello from time to time when he saw acquaintances. What he wanted to show was that he didn't have any objections to the third generation because his needs were not met. After all, this old guy wasn't very big-minded. In the Hokage's office, there was a crystal ball in front of the third generation, with Lulin walking home on it. He lit his pipe and the whole office suddenly became filled with smoke. He knew that after Lu Lin's factory was built, it would indeed bring huge income to the entire Konoha. The money for renting land, workers' wages, taxes, etc. He can even let the Anbu secretly try to steal the core technology of the game console. When the time comes, he could have kicked Lu Lin away, and then snatched the business and let his family do it. However, these must be premised on not increasing the strength of the Uchiha family. And Lu Lin, although he has no strength, he is an Uchiha. If after the factory is built, he hires his tribesmen to guard the safety of the factory, then the Anbu will not be able to obtain the core technology so easily. Even if they are discovered, the power of his Hokage will be greatly damaged. After all, no family would want the shadow of a village to be someone who covets their family's property. This is still relatively minor. To be more serious, will those families think that their shadow wants to get their family's bloodline, secretary or even eyes? After Lu Lin walked out of the Hokage building, he could always feel that there was a line of sight secretly peeping at him. But he didn't pay too much attention to it. He now wanted to talk to his good brother. Fugaku family. Fugaku has been a little annoyed recently. Because of his brother's game console, the Uchiha clan has been targeted by some people again. Thump thump thump. Makoto quickly opened the door and found Lu Xuan standing outside. Big brother is here, please come in. Lu Lin nodded. What about Fugaku? He is inside. Lu Lin raised his legs and walked inside. When he came to the living room, Fug was sitting and worrying. What's wrong? Are you not welcome to come, big brother? Lu Lin knocked on the table and said. Big brother. Fugaku looked at Lu Lin helplessly. Why are you here today? Of course something happened. Lu Lin said. You should know about the latest game console I developed. Fugaku nodded. He knew more than that. Because of his game console, the group of old and immortal elders started to trouble him every day in meetings. There is a vacant lot behind the family, you can give it to me when you are done. Space. Fugaku thought for a while. Why do you want that piece of land? Our Uchiha ancestors are all sleeping there. Of course it is used, I need to build a factory. Lu Lin said seriously. I asked Sandai to give me a piece of land before, but unfortunately he didn't agree and said he would have to hold a meeting to discuss it. Humph, how could they agree to give me land when the group of elders are here? Fugaku heard this and smiled bitterly. In fact, during today's meeting, the elders also discussed the issue of game consoles. Oh. Lu Lin became interested. Tell me what you discussed. Fugaku glanced at Lu Lin. He felt that if he said this, it might anger his elder brother, but it had come to this point, and there was nothing to hide. He organized his words and spoke slowly. The two elders think that you should take out the core technology of the game console and contribute it to the village. Lu Lin sneered. What about other families? Don't they have any reaction? The village wants Uchiha's core technology. Lu Lin doesn't believe that other families will be indifferent. They know the truth about the death of lips and teeth. Fugaku smiled bitterly and shook his head. The elders group promises to release the core technology, and everyone can check it out as long as they have enough contribution points, so they agreed, right? Lu Lin's expression became extremely gloomy. It's because game console technology is only a way to make money and does not involve the foundation of a family's livelihood. Therefore, in order to please the Hokage lineage and the elders, these families acquiesced. Am I right? Fugaku nodded. In addition, the game console business is too hot and profitable. They believe that this will quickly increase the strength of our family. After all, money can buy too many things. Strategic supplies such as detonating charms, shurikens, military food pills, or you can buy many ninjutsu. Although each village keeps its own ninjutsu very tightly and does not allow anyone to leak it. However, there will still be many people, especially ninjas from small countries, who will sell their village's ninjutsu for money. Although they will not have too strong ninjutsu, the number will be enough, and sooner or later, it will lead to qualitative changes. Everyone regards the Uchiha and Hyuga clans as the two most powerful families in Konoha, but after the explosion of game consoles, countless money poured into the Uchiha clan, which has made some people feel uneasy about not allowing a certain family to be allowed. Especially the Uchiha race, which is dominated by a family with mentally weak people. They are afraid that the powerful Uchiha clan will overthrow the Hokage's rule. Ha ha ha, how ridiculous. Lu Lin smiled coldly. Fugue looked at his eldest brother's expression, feeling a little worried. Brother, if you really can't do it, stop selling game consoles. When Minato becomes the new Hokage, he won't stop him. Stop selling. Lu Lin looked at his brother and shook his head with some disappointment. He seemed to be too cowardly. The sales of game consoles will never stop. Making money is related to the improvement of Lu Lin's own strength. He is extremely aware of his ninja talent. When he was a child, he couldn't even compare with Fugaku's training speed. If it weren't for the system, he might still be a genin now, and he might even have died in a certain mission. Bingo. Whether that piece of land is approved or not is up to you, Fugaku. Lu Lin is already thinking about whether to defect from the village, but the trouble is that Hitaki Tsukumo is still alive at this time, and Orochimaru and Tsunade from the Sanin are also in the village. Will these two people? Lu Lin wasn't sure what to do, but although the third generation would curse old people, he was actually not too old yet, so if he took action, he might have to face the obstruction of several shadow-level powerhouses alone. But if he leaves secretly and does not completely separate himself from the village family, his departure will affect the Uchiha clan. Just wait, it's coming soon. Looking at Lu Lin's back as he left without saying a word, Fugaku was a little worried. Others don't know, but he knows his elder brother's temper and his hidden strength. Once the eldest brother has thought clearly and plans to leave the village, no one in Konoha can stop Lu Lin, who is determined to leave alone unless the shadow-level powerhouses come out together. And once Lu Lin leaves, as his younger brother, the Uchiha clan leader, how will he choose at that time? That night, Fugaku couldn't sleep. Lu Lin is aware of Fugaku's difficulties, so he will not do anything too impulsive and everything must be considered in the long run. Before leaving Konoha, he had to take some people with him. How could he leave alone in despair? This was not Lu Lin's character. He took a deep breath and suppressed his inner impulse. For the time being, he could only reduce the sales of game consoles in Konoha to show weakness to Konoha. As for me, I just need to wait in secret, waiting for those guys from the Hokage family to cause trouble. With the existence of Sandai and Guoying, Lu Lin did not believe that the village would remain quiet. Therefore, from this day on, Lu Lin's game console business basically stopped selling, and Lu Lin himself stayed at home all day without going out. As for the high-level executives who wanted to use the game console against Uchiha every time they met, after Fugaku stopped selling it, he told the public that some core technology of the game console was lost and production could no longer continue. Although those in the Council of Elders were not satisfied, Lu Lin had indeed never sold game consoles, and they had also investigated many cities in the Land of Fire and cities in other countries. Apart from the game consoles that Konoha originally bought, there are no new ones on the market. In this regard, they also believe that the so-called core technology has indeed been lost. After all, who would be willing to hide a chicken that lays golden eggs? So, at the meeting, they could only say that Lu Lin was too young and ignorant. If he had handed over his technology earlier, nothing would have happened. It was not that they had not thought that Fugaku might be lying, but without substantial evidence, it was impossible to take action against Lu Lin. You know, he is an Uchiha, and they were the ones who were wrong in this matter. If Zhao Qian took action against Lu Lin, other families who were originally on the same side as them might directly turn against them. The peaceful days passed one after another and soon it was the 42nd year of Konoha. On this peaceful day in Konoha, a big news suddenly broke out. The youngest genin in the history of Konoha, Kakashi Hitaki, appeared in the school. He was the son of the Anbu chief, Tsukumo Hitaki, whose popularity far exceeded that of the three ninjas in recent years. While his son was becoming famous, Tsukumo Hitaki was doing a mission outside. For some reason, a group of flowing ninjas suddenly appeared in the direction of the sand village. Tsukumo Hitaki went to investigate and deal with this matter. In the courtyard of Uchiha Lu Lin. Listening to Might Guy talking about the glorious achievements of Kakashi, whom he regarded as a lifelong friend and opponent, Lu Lin smiled and said nothing. Kai, it's time to show off your youth today, it's time for us to set off. Mat Dai came over and stopped Mat Kai, who was chatting excitedly with Lu Lin. Okay father, I'm leaving right away. Then I will take Kai to train. Master Lu Lin, is there anything I need to buy? No. Lu Lin waved his hand. Looking at Matt Dai and his son who were shouting about youthful struggle and leaving far away, Lu Lin was quite emotional. Since he stopped doing the game console business, he began to focus on in Konoha village. Matt Dai and Matt Kai's father and son were also their own gains. Due to Matt Kai's chronic malnutrition and excessive exercise, Matt Dai finally came to Lu Lin for help. He didn't take any money from them, he just kept them as his own nursing home. He only needed to help look after the house every day. A figure suddenly appeared in front of Lu Lin, half kneeling, and he also put away the smile on his face, looking at the figure on the ground and said, "Finished cleaning up?" "Yes, young master," the figure said respectfully. Under the leadership of Captains Shuichuan and Mingyan, the Tea Kingdom has successfully become our territory. Really? Lu Lin nodded. You've done a great job. Tell Shuichuan and Mingyan that they should develop the Kingdom of Tea and train the ninja troops well, but be careful not to be discovered by spies from the big country. I will go there in person before long. The subordinates understand. Lu Lin waved his hand, and the ninja disappeared. Knocking on the table with his right hand, Lu Lin thought about the future development. After the production of the game console stopped, Lu Lin discovered that he seemed to have been beaten by Konoha. Some of the higher-ups were worried about it and could no longer leave Konoha village as easily as before. He had no choice but to use the subordinates he trained to help him carry out his plans. He even sent out a few of his initial subordinates such as Ming Yan, and the first task was to let them control the entire country of Tea. After all, one village was too small to cover an entire country, is barely enough. Moreover, the country of Tea has not been noticed by the big countries in the entire ninja world. After all, there is no need to pay special attention to a country that does not even have its own ninja village. The subordinates can easily control the country of Tea. Without their own armed forces, it is too easy for the ninja to control the country. With a real territory of his own, Lu Lin will also start his own. He made a move. When Konoha declines, it will be the time when he completely leaves Konoha. His eyes are full of expectation, but he retracts them and presses them into the deepest part of his eyes. He didn't want to let go of any of Yi's group of talents. The Kingdom of Tea had just been established and lacked too many people with lofty ideals to join. No matter how he found it, he had to bring some people there. Bang! There was a knock on the door, and a guy with a smile on his face ran in. Brother Lu Lin, I'm here to see you. The recognizable voice made Lu Lin recognize it at once. It was Obito. He was still the last in the school, and he was still the one who liked to follow Nohara Lin around. The only difference was that he knew Lu Lin and regarded him as his elder brother. Oh, Obito, why didn't you go find your Lin today? Obito blushed and scratched his head. Lin said she had something to do today and didn't have time to come out. No wonder. Lin said with a smile. I was wondering why you suddenly came to my place, it turns out your Lin doesn't have time. Thank you, boss Lu Lin. Then I'll go find Lin first. Seeing Obito eagerly looking for Nohara Lin, Lu Lin shook his head. Some time ago, when Lu Lin was walking among the clan, he accidentally saw Obito training at the training ground. His hands were itchy, so he went up to practice with him. The result was obviously obvious. Obito was hammered by Lu Lin with one hand. If it were an ordinary Uchiha, he might not feel so uncomfortable after defeating Obito. But after Lu Lin graduated from the ninja school, he had been a genin and became a businessman. In Obito's eyes, he is about to become a real ninja now, and Lu Lin has not been fighting since graduation. Instead, he has become a well-known member of the Uchiha clan and has been infected with a lot of bad habits. Merchant. Naturally, he was quite dissatisfied that he would be hammered by one of his hands. Moreover, Lu Lin behaves kindly on weekdays, so Obito will naturally come to Lu Lin to fight when he has time. In fact, Obito's talent, if he doesn't have many adventures in his life, will only reach the level of a middle Junin at most, and even an elite Junin can barely reach it. But who would have thought that this kid was a love brain, or the kind of love brain that would immediately turn into a kaleidoscope of anger when losing his lover. A genin whose strength started from the bottom of the crane can be promoted to the shadow level in one fell swoop. In the end, it can even reach the super shadow and 6 levels. All I can say is that in this world, if you don't play with your eyes or your blood, you really are nothing. Solulin looked helplessly at the 3 Magatama Sharingan, evolving, displayed in the system. He had been looking at the words, evolving, for 2 or 3 years, and it really hadn't changed at all. But I have no other choice but to wait. Never mind. The third war hasn't started yet, and Konoha hasn't completely declined yet, so don't worry. The reason why he doesn't make any big moves now is that he's afraid that it will affect certain plots. In this way, he won't get the dividends. After all, this little broken system doesn't make him invincible in an instant, or has a plug-in that can lock his blood. He would like to wander around, but in the current ninja world, and in Konoha alone, it's not easy for him to be alone. Breaking out alone. These days, Kakashi's fame is getting bigger and bigger. Without him, his powerful talent and strength, coupled with his father, the Anbu minister, it is difficult for all children to become famous. Among them, the only one who often challenged Kakashi was the love-minded one. On the way to training with his father, he met Kakashi who happened to be out shopping with his father. He directly entangled him. Let's have a manly duel, Kakashi. Looking at Guy with a watermelon-like head, Kakashi felt helpless. He had finally come out to shop with his father today, but he didn't expect to run into Guy. Might Dai was naturally very supportive of his son's courage to challenge Konoha's #1 genius. He even had his eyes on Hitaki Tsukumo. He wanted to set a real example for his son. As his father, he also dared to challenge the strong. Mr. Tsukumo, please accept my challenge. Hitaki Tsukumo was a little confused. Over the years, ever since he made a name for himself during World War II, he had never met anyone who wanted to challenge himself. How come they both met today? Kakashi wanted to refuse, but he didn't want to. He missed the opportunity to go shopping with his father, but Hitaki Tsukumo didn't give him a chance. He gently patted Kakashi on the head and nodded to Dai. No problem. Seeing that his father agreed, Kakashi had no choice but to nod in agreement. Just in time, he also wanted his father to see his strength. Originally, Tsukumo thought he was going to the training ground, but under the leadership of Dai, the 4 of them came to the village in a large forest at the back. Matt Dai and his son often came here to train. Later, after becoming Lu Lin's bodyguards, they never came again. The 2 children were the first to fight. The 2 of them fought. If there was any danger, Tsukumo and his father would take action in time. After Kai and Kakashi formed a seal, Kakashi immediately disappeared and then whipped Kai. One move of Konoha's whirlwind forced Kakashi back, and then he rushed forward. Although in the world of Naruto, there are many ninjutsu with various attributes, but their physical skills are still one of the most important things. The representative is, do you want to dance too? Madara, he is enough to crush a group of ninjas with his physical skills. However, Kakashi and Kai, who are still genin, have even less chakra in their bodies. Physical skills are also more important. In the past, Kakashi could rely on auxiliary ninjutsu, such as substitute techniques, etc., to crush and even tease Kai. After catching up, the amount of training is also greater, and the improvement is naturally huge. At the very least, Kai will not lose his combat effectiveness after being hit by Kakashi. Kakashi almost does not attack Kai. Dare to take it hard, he can sense that even though Kai's attack is simple, if he is hit, he may be injured. However, if the powerful attack cannot hit anyone, it will naturally be useless. After dodging Kai's powerful attack, Kakashi kicked Kai in the back, staggering him. Then, Kakashi quickly formed a seal, Raiden, Reikiri, and a large amount of electricity gathered in his palm, making a sizzling sound. Kai immediately felt numb behind him, and had no time to adjust his body posture, so he could only roll around in an attempt to avoid the attack. Unfortunately, a large amount of electricity still hit Kai, and for a moment, he was paralyzed by the electricity. The effect makes it difficult for Kai to move. Admit defeat now. Kakashi said coldly. You are no match for me. Give up. Kai stared at the numbness and discomfort in his body, tried to stand up, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, looked at Kakashi, and his eyes became more determined. How can a man give up so easily? Kakashi, I have specially practiced a move to deal with you. I saw him making seals with both hands and shouting. 8-door Dunjia, open the door, open it. A wave of air came from Kai's body, with Kai as the center, and dispersed in all directions. But the seal in Kai's hand was not over yet, and he continued to shout. Open the rest gate. Open the life gate. At this moment, Kai's body was as red as a boiling lobster, and his head was steaming, but his eyes were still as firm as before, staring at Kakashi. Kakashi was a little shocked. He felt the beast-like breath on Kai's body. Hitaki Sakumo, who was watching the battle from the sidelines, was also a little surprised. Originally, his son would win by crushing him, but he never knew that the opponent would have such a strange trick that could open up the body's chakra restrictions. Mr. Dai, if this continues, the two children might get hurt. He could feel that this move of Might Guy would cause considerable harm to himself. Ha ha ha, don't worry. Dai laughed and said. These 4 doors are currently the most suitable and the limit that Kai can reach. Moreover, he will not lose control yet. Kai just wants to fight with all his strength. As he spoke, Kai had already rushed forward. Sakumo could only nod. Kai's movements were indeed very fast, but he was a ninja known for his speed and lethality. He could still keep up and could clearly see Kai's moves. Therefore, he also has the ability to rescue in time. I just hope that my son's self-confidence will not be frustrated. In his opinion, with a good friend like Guy constantly pushing him, Kakashi will not be lazy. Besides, Kakashi is always there for him. Come on, he is a little too introverted, and he also hopes that he can become more cheerful and generous under Kai's influence. Kakashi, on the other hand, seemed to be frightened by the speed Kai showed, and stood motionless. Big whirlwind in Konoha. And a powerful and heavy kick, which hit Kakashi who was standing there, but the moment it came into contact with Kakashi's body, Kakashi directly turned into a piece of rotten wood, and was immediately kicked by Kai. Kakashi himself came behind Kai again, preparing to attack again, but he didn't expect that his body actually made a move that was contrary to the human body structure, and clenched his fists. He hit him. In panic, Kakashi could only cross his hands to block the attack. Kakashi could clearly hear that his arms seemed to be broken when Kai hit him. Painful, Kakashi used a teleportation technique to distance himself from Kai. He finally understood that it was impossible for him to defeat Kai in this state in close combat. He endured the pain and formed seals with his hands. Since melee combat is no big deal, let's use ninjutsu. He wanted to see if Kai could withstand it before he ran out of chakra. Fire escape and powerful fireball techniques. A huge fireball spit out from Kakashi's mouth and shot at Kai. The power looked good, but this is Naruto. How could he hit someone with such a good fireball technique? Kai jumped and avoided Kakashi. When he was about to rush forward with his attack, the corners of Kakashi's covered mouth slightly curved. I've been waiting for you for a long time. The seals on his hands changed again. Water escape, water dragon bullet technique. He decided to use this move to completely defeat Kai. A huge dragon made of water appeared in the void and then rushed towards Kai. This is youth. Kai's eyes were filled with excitement, and he rushed towards the water dragon without the slightest intention to dodge. Boom. With water splashing everywhere, Kai and the water dragon were in a stalemate. But as Kakashi's continuous chakra blessing under this, Kai gradually couldn't hold on anymore, and was thrown away by the water dragon, falling to the ground, not knowing whether he was alive or dead. Watching his opponent being defeated, Kakashi also consumed too much chakra and was also injured. Seriously, his eyes turned white and he fell down. Naturally, the two fathers rushed towards their sons at the same time. There was a burst of applause, and when Hitaki Sakumo was confused, a figure came out of the forest. Boss Lu Lin, why are you here? Dai said with some surprise, and then came over holding Kai who was unconscious. Kai is very good, he can actually match the first talent of Muya. Lu Lin said with a smile, but his expression soon changed. Forget about the challenge, what kind of 8-door Dunjia are you using? Do you know if this move will cause harm to your body? Dai, Kai is still young, and the 8-gate Dunjia is not suitable for Kai to use yet. Boss Lu Lin, don't blame my father. Kai opened his eyes tremblingly and said. I also want to try where my limits are. This is a passionate man. Dai Yi chimed in. Facing these two desperate father and son, Lu Lin was also a little helpless. Then he turned to look at Hitaki Sakumo. Kakashi was unconscious due to exhaustion and his arm was broken. Hitaki Kasaku Shiga was planning to go to the hospital for treatment first. Mr. Hitaki Sakumo. Lu Lin shouted. Put Kakashi down and let me take a look. Hitaki Sakumo naturally knows Lu Lin, the famous #1 businessman in Konoha, but he doesn't know that Lu Lin can heal. Fortunately, Kakashi's injury is not a serious one. Since Lu Lin is warm-hearted, if you want to help, you can just let him take a look yourself. That's trouble. Hitaki Sakumo said, and then slowly placed Kakashi on the ground. Lu Lin stepped forward, put his right hand on Kakashi's broken arm, and a green light slowly appeared in his palm. This is. Hitaki Sakumo glanced at Lu Lin in surprise. If he saw it correctly, Lu Lin was performing the palm immortal technique on Kakashi. He has never seen any Uchiha who can use palm senjutsu. It is true that medical ninjutsu relies on the power of yang, but Uchiha has no shortage of yin power. In yang power, there is no one in the entire Uchiha who has this attribute. Therefore, no one in the Uchiha clan can become a medical ninja. It's no wonder that Hitaki Sakumo was so surprised when he saw Lu Lin unleashing the palm immortal technique. Under the treatment of palm senjutsu, Kakashi's broken arm slowly recovered, and Lu Lin treated Kai again. The two fathers were naturally very grateful to Lu Lin for saving their children. Lu Lin waved his hand casually. It was nothing. He was just testing the palm immortal technique he had just mastered. After all, he had only acquired the power of yang not long ago. Yes, Lu Lin's eye finally drew out the power of yang after spending an unknown amount of money. But it just turned his body into a physique that can contain the power of yang. As for the quantity, he has to work hard to increase it. But this is enough. At least, the yang power in his body is enough to cast the simplest medical ninjutsu, palm senjutsu. Now that the children were cured, Dai stood up and said to Hitaki Sakumo. Mr. Hitaki, then, it's the two of us next. Hitaki Sakumo nodded. His son has mastered that strange trick. He is naturally very curious. Since he became the Anbu minister, he has been restrained by all kinds of trivial matters in Konoha every day. He is so long. Time has not touched him. As a ninja, shouldn't he be surrounded by danger and death every day? It's better for him. He is plunged into a sea of documents every day, unable to climb out. Hitaki Sakumo is almost depressed. Mr. Hitaki Sakumo, please enlighten me. Dai said with his hands clasped in fists. Please enlighten me. The two looked at each other seriously, neither one moved first. The breeze blew slowly, and a leaf fell down. The moment the leaf fell to the ground, the two disappeared at the same time. Boom. Next. In an instant, they appeared in the air and collided with each other. Although Dai's body had been recuperated by Lu Lin and he had enough food to supplement his nutrition, Genin was still a Genin. His taijutsu strength was barely at the level of a Jonin. Opposite him was a real cage-level warrior with high attack speed, Sakumo Hitaki. In the moment of the fight, Dai was knocked away by Sakumo. It hit the ground hard, splashing a lot of dust, but Sakumo didn't stop and rushed directly into the dust. He could feel that Dai was not seriously injured. Then, in the dust, something started to happen. There were constant sounds of fighting and collision. The strong wind caused by the two people's fight blew away the dust around them. Lu Lin was watching the two people fighting intently. They were both considered strong in physical skills. Even though his strength is good, his physical skills are still a little weak. The old patriarch of their Uchiha clan can dance in a coalition of tens of thousands of people, and Lu Lin naturally wants to reach that level. Sakumo dodged Dai's fist, then came to Dai's side at an extremely fast speed, compared his arm to a knife, and slashed at Dai's neck. Seeing that he couldn't avoid it, Dai could only put his arm down. On the side, he resisted Sakumo's attack. There was a crisp sound, and Dai's arm obviously lost its fighting power. But Dai just gritted his teeth, stepped back, and broke his broken arm back. After his arm returned to normal, Dai immediately made a seal with both hands. The 8 gates of Dunjia are: open the gate, close the gate, live the gate, hurt the gate, do gate, and the scene gate, open. With Dai's seal, a large amount of red gas began to emit from his body, and his entire body became larger, with obvious muscles all over his body. Konoha's red tiger, Mat Dai, has begun to gain power. Flag. Kisakumo's face was solemn at this moment, and he could already feel the tingling sensation on his skin caused by the physical master across from him. He took a deep breath and slowly pulled out his saber. Mr. Dai, be careful, I'm going to use my full strength. Ha ha ha, I couldn't ask for it. Dai laughed loudly and continued to form seals with his hands. Jingmun, open. More and more red gas came out of Dai's body. He was panting, his eyes were full of bloodshot, and he looked at Hitaki Tsukumo quietly. Hitaki Tsukumo was also shocked by Dai's red eyes, but he still quickly stabilized his mind. His eyes became extremely sharp. He felt that he was back on the battlefield again. Feeling the extremely sharp sword intent emanating from Hitaki Tsukumo, Dai smiled confidently. This is the fiery youth. I'm going to attack. As soon as the voice fell, Dai's body shape changed. In a flash, he was already on top of Hitaki Tsukumo's head. Konoha White Fang, who was famous for his speed, didn't expect that one day he would be scared by the speed of others. He passively raised his sword and held it in front of himself. He knew that he had lost the initiative and could only resist passively. Boom. Dull sounds rang out, and Dai's blood-red iron fist had hit Hitaki Tsukumo's sword hard. However, his sword was obviously made of relatively rare materials, and even Dai's fist could not break it. However, after Hitaki Tsukumo pushed Dai's fist away, his hands were still shaking involuntarily. Obviously, he could not completely block Dai's attack. Red fist. Dai let out a tiger roar, twisted his waist and turned in one breath, gathered all the strength of his body, and punched Hitaki Tsukumo. This circle directly exceeded the imagination of everyone present. The explosive power, the infusion was concentrated to one point, and the wind was like a pillar of heaven, blowing up the entire earth. It was like an earthquake, and the boundless earth was shaken by the punch that Metardai blasted, and the air formed by the fist wind screamed tragically. The cannon continued, suppressing Hitaki Tsukumo with a majestic force, as if he was about to blast him into the center of the earth. Hitaki Tsukumo's pupils shrank, and he wanted to retreat, but found that he could not. What should I do? Why do I feel like I'm going to die? Whoa! Lu Lin's figure suddenly appeared on Dai's path. He slowly stretched out his right hand, and countless iron sand began to condense in front of him. In an instant, it turned into a thick iron sand shield. At this time, Dai's attack also fell. Boom! The shield in front of Lu Lin began to shake violently, and slowly, cracks appeared. As the cracks gradually filled the shield, it finally failed to withstand the pressure. It still shattered, but the force on Dai's fist was also greatly weakened, and Lu Lin blocked it easily. That's it, wear it. Dai also returned to normal at this time, and bowed to Lu Lin in embarrassment and apologized. I'm so sorry, Boss Lu Lin, I really couldn't control my strength just now. Suddenly, he seemed to remember something and hurriedly ran to Hitaki Tsukumo. I'm really sorry, Mr. Tsukumo, it was originally just a challenge, but I was just a little too excited. It's okay, no problem. Hitaki Tsukumo finally came back to his senses and waved his hand with a wry smile. I thought that my strength was one of the top in the whole village, but I didn't expect that there is a strong person like Mr. Dai. No, thanks to Mr. Tsukumo for letting me go today, I didn't use your best sword skills. This also gave me a chance to resist. Otherwise, I might have been defeated long ago. The two of them planned to continue pushing each other, but Lu Lin couldn't stand it anymore. Come on, stop being so modest. I think we should just go out and have a good meal together. I'll treat you. Then I'll trouble Boss Lu Lin. Lu Lin waved his hand indifferently. It was just a meal, no big deal. Compared with what he could get, it was nothing. Several people walked towards the largest restaurant in Konoha. Along the way, Lu Lin could feel that someone was watching him from behind from time to time. Hitaki Tsukumo didn't expect that Lu Lin, who was ordinary and had been engaged in business since graduating from the ninja school, could block Dai's fist so easily. What he didn't expect was that the ninjutsu used by Lu Xuan seemed to belong to his old rival, the famous bloodline limit of the third generation of Sand Shadow, Magnetic Escape. In the restaurant, Dai kept thanking Lu Lin and apologizing to Hitaki Tsukumo. It was also the first time for him to fight against such a powerful opponent as Hitaki Tsukumo, and he was really overjoyed. That's why I wanted to try my strongest state without opening the door to death, and see how strong I could be. The effect is very obvious, almost the same as Hitaki Tsukumo. This kind of combat power is completely enough for the current ninja world. In this era where the super shadow level is not available, the shadow level is the pinnacle that a ninja can reach. As long as you have cage level power and are not too unlucky to encounter Otsutsuki wandering the ninja world or Madara who is dying, then the ninja world is so big that you can go anywhere. However, Dai's overall strength still has some drawbacks. For example, he can do well against a strong man like Hitaki Sakumo who only uses physical skills and sword skills. But if you encounter enemies who specialize in various ninjutsu and are very fast, you won't be able to fight against them. Although there are very few ninjas in the ninja world who can be faster than Dai after opening the 7 gates, that doesn't mean there aren't any. For example, Raikage, Namikaze Minato who achieved Konoha's shining achievement. Or you may encounter enemies with high attack and defense, such as the Jinchuriki of each village. Fortunately, Dai is still young now. After all, Lulin is about the same age as Dai, so Dai has enough time to take his physical skills to the next level. By then, if he opens the 7 gates again, he might directly reach the peak of the shadow level. In any case, Dai and Kai, father and son, are Lulin's trump card now and for a long time to come. As long as the father and son are around, he will dare to go up and give them a slap even if they encounter age spots. When he arrived at the barbecue restaurant owned by Chudao's family, Lulin waved his hand and asked the store manager to display all the signs in the store. Although being a strong person in Hokage, being able to fight does not mean that he can eat, but his appetite is definitely larger than that of ordinary people, and he has just finished exercising and must be in urgent need of energy replenishment. Soon, the delicious barbecue was served, and several people started working at the same time. It's just that Hitaki Sakumo's appetite doesn't seem to be very good. He has been thinking about the blood inheritance boundary that Lulin used just now, and how Lulin's strength suddenly became so powerful. Lulin didn't care. Now that he had decided to leave Konoha, it was only a matter of time before his strength was exposed. He was not afraid of Konoha knowing about it in advance and was prepared. After all, being indecisive is what Hiruzen Sarutobi should be like. If you want to target yourself, neither the 3rd generation nor Konoha itself would have such courage. Not talking about his own actual strength, just the Uchiha with his back was enough for them to drink from a pot. After coming to the ninja world for so many years, I have traveled to many places. If I don't have this confidence, there is no point in having fun in the ninja world. On the way back, Hitaki Sakumo kept thinking about whether to tell the 3rd generation about the power Lulin used and the strength he exposed. Perhaps the reason why Lulin exposed his strength was that he hoped to tell the 3rd generation and others, and then. He didn't know what would happen next, but it was certain that Lulin would never be able to do business again, and he might also offend Lulin, Uchiha, and the powerful taijutsu master today because of this incident. By the way, when did Konoha have such a strong taijutsu master? He was actually a genin, and he was so poor that he had to be a bodyguard for Lulin. He really couldn't understand what the top leaders of Konoha were doing. If they didn't recruit such a strong man, would they not be able to eat enough in such a big Konoha? He didn't understand some of the darkness of Konoha. To be able to become the head of the Anbu, his mind was naturally extremely flexible. It's just that sometimes, Hitaki Sakumo was not willing to think deeply. He only knew that he belonged to Konoha, a knife in the hands of the 3rd generation, and he was willing to dedicate himself to Konoha. Kakashi was walking on the road, and he was not very interested. He didn't expect that Kai actually had such a powerful taijutsu. Thinking about it now, his arm was aching. If it weren't for the treatment of Boss Lulin, he might have been in the hospital long ago. He clenched his fists tightly and swore to himself that he would train harder in the future. The days passed slowly, and Hitaki Sakumo finally did not tell the 3rd generation about his discovery. He buried this secret deep in his heart. Because for some reason, Konohas and Danzo seemed to be more and more disliked by him, and sometimes even constantly instigated the 3rd generation to let him hand over the control of the Anbu. He did not have much resentment towards Danzo, but was mainly dissatisfied with the 3rd generation's approach. If he was really not suitable to continue to stay in the position of Anbu minister, as long as the 3rd generation said, he would immediately resign. But what do you mean by not mentioning what you did wrong and not stopping Danzo's behavior? Hitaki Sakumo was honest, but not stupid. Didn't he just want to use Danzo to suppress himself? She knew some reasons. The third generation was getting older, and the voices for her to take over as Hokage were getting louder and louder. Especially in World War II, she performed extremely well. He thought that after the end of World War II, he would do his job honestly and this limelight would slowly subside. But who knew that the voices were getting higher and higher? But who knows, Hitaki Sakumo only thinks of himself as a sword, and has told the third generation countless times that he is just a sword, not to mention the position of Hokage, even the position of Anbu minister, he doesn't like it very much. But even so, the third generation is still dissatisfied with him, so when Danzo targeted him, he didn't stop him in time, but just muddied the water. A sword also has its own dignity and temper, right? Lu Lin originally thought that after a while, the third generation would come to him to explore his strength and the problem of bloodline boundaries, but unexpectedly, after a long period of time, no one from the Hokage family came to trouble him. This made Lu Lin look at Hitaki Sakumo differently. So since then, his daily contact with the Hitaki family has become more because of Kai and Dai. The third generation is naturally clear about this. But he just thought that Hitaki Sakumo was preparing for himself to become the fourth Hokage. Sure enough, what a sword, he still has ideas about the position of Hokage. The third generation thought from time to time in his heart that he thought he was still very young and it was still easy for him to control the entire village. He was even more dissatisfied with Hitaki Sakumo, and sometimes he would support Danzo when he made some unfounded attacks on Hitaki Sakumo in meetings. In this way, the gap between the two of them became larger and larger. Thanks for watching.